be launching this summer that will actually be taught by Malcolm Smith and give players a chance to earn rewards and other type of merchandise. Like here we have a rep taker shirt. Actually, this photo right here is one of our top rep takers on the platform, Jacob Doolittle. He's actually going to Liberty College or Liberty University to play quarterback this year. He was one of our top using members for the past year, and it's been really special to work with him. So just a little bit there. And yeah, thank you, Caleb. Does that answer a lot of questions for you about the product?
Answered a lot. Thank you.
Cool. No worries.
And another thing for people that are just now tuning in, as you can see, put your first and last name and you can earn 75 participation points. All right. So after that presentation, I do have one question.
Go ahead.
One of my questions was, I'm pretty sure, as you said earlier, you were in college playing football in high school. But did you already have an interest in tech at that age as well?
Yeah, so I did. I built my first website when I was 12 years old. I went to a magnet school here out in Los Angeles called Overwright Middle School. We were fairly advanced for the area. And, funny story, I went to private school for elementary school. And my grandmother had a private elementary school, and I went to her school, I should say that. And then when I got to middle school, that was the first time I went to public school. So the first summer, as you could imagine, I got picked on a little bit. I wasn't really used to wearing free dress to school. My mom sent me to school looking like a old Navy mannequin. And, from there, I really drew to the computer lab because it was something where I could go hang out and, not get picked on. And I ended up finding my passion there with coding and web development. I also went to space camp as a kid and kind of always had an interest for the world that's unseen. That's what I think is awesome about technology is it's a creative person's oasis, right? Because anything you can mathematically compute can exist. And I think that's what really excited me about technology, about coding, and now we're using these technologies to work with Playbook 5.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
All right. I don't think you covered it earlier, but if you did you have a dream of going to the NFL? If so, what happened?
Yeah, I did. I did have a dream of going to the NFL. It's I'll tell you like this. The thing about sports is you can only play it for so long, right? And that length of time, you have some control over it, but you really don't have control over it. And the reason being is because your body, right? You play sports with your body. And that was my story. So I had my first knee injury when I was a sophomore in high school. I started playing football at 6 years old, like I mentioned. And after that, it was very hard for me to continually to make those leaps and gains that it's necessary to play the game at a professional level. Now, granted, I was able to go on to college and play competitively there at Boise State. But, the higher you get up in that system, the better the players are. And every notch against you, like an old injury, it just slows you down. And for me, it got to a point where I just wasn't getting better anymore because of my old injury. So, and I felt, thankfully, I had have a great father and a great mentor. And he told me this when I was 14, 15 years old, that it wasn't going to last forever, that I needed to be thinking about other things. So mentally, I'd always kind of of course I wanted to, right? Like I'm working up every day and I'm trying to, but I was doing that with a certain level of rationale attached to it as well, where I knew and I understood that this thing could change at any point in time. And I needed to be prepared to take the next step in my life because, football, even for me, wasn't so much about I love the game. We all love to play, but it was also about creating opportunity, right? Like creating opportunity for me to go to college, creating opportunity to have generational wealth and be able to take care of my family and create more job opportunities for them, be able to create more job opportunities for within my community. So when I started to think about plan Bs, I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how we can still get those things done if football or sports was never around, right? But I always wanted to also stay close to sport because I love it, and it's fun, and I speak the language, and I love to compete. But I would say around 15 years old, I started to think about, okay, what would life look like if I did not have a game to play anymore?
Thank you. I really understood that one. All right. I was gonna say before we get to the next question, is there any questions from the that y'all had to answer? I mean that y'all had to say.
In the chat, yeah,
Okay.
some good
Yeah, I
questions.
was saying if there's any other questions.
Doesn't look like it. Let's see.
Okay. So how did you transition from sports into VR technology?
Yeah, so it when you're done playing the game, it's
Like, was it hard?
yeah, it was very hard. It was very hard, and it's no matter how prepared you are, like I was, it's still tough when you wake up and you don't have to go to practice anymore, or you don't have a game to play. And as you know, you spend so much time practicing these sports, and it just becomes a part of your life. So, and because it's so much a part of your life, your identity is a part of that, right? So when you don't have the game anymore, it's almost like you have to recreate an identity, and that's the hard part. Is like figuring out, what I am now that this plan B has realized. And again, you have all types of ideas, you have all types of projections, but when things happen is when you really figure out who you are and what you are. So it happened, and I started by like, what do I love? What do I want to do? What do I care about? What do I love about the game? So there's the game, right, which is football, but then there's what do you love about the game? Like Caleb, you might like, hell, I don't know. What do you like about the game? What do you like about sports?
I like that it's competitive.
Okay, so you like
Very
this,
competitive.
right? So I like the same thing. Also, one of the other things I liked about it is it's very strategic and mentally stimulating, right? Especially a game of football. I played quarterback in high school, so a defense lines up. Every play it's a new defense. You got to figure out how to beat them, And every week there's a new opponent. Figure out a new way to beat them. So I really love, my dad's a coach, so that's probably where I picked that up from. But I really love the strategic side of sports. So when I got out of sport and I realized that I wanted to be involved in work, I started to think about that side, right? So it was like, okay, how can I, be involved in the strategy of game? Now, coaching is something that I thought about as well, going to a team. But as I mentioned, I kind of have this tech like passion too, right? And I wanted to break away from what was normal to me and do something different. So I combined the tech with the strategic side, and I started to like, okay, well, let's work in analytics, let's work in sports education. I ended up taking a job at another company called Crossover that just got acquired by Huddle. And I had this idea for Playbook 5, but it wasn't exactly flushed out. And eventually I ended up leaving the company, and I decided to go on and start Playbook 5. And it was, I think the thing that really got me on it, though, was when I realized the impact it could have, like VR. Like, okay, so I mean, I could take all my experiences, take this viewer, send it to you, and teach you everything that well, not everything, but a majority of what I know about schematic gameplay, right? That's very empowering, considering it took me a lot of time, a lot of injuries, a lot of money to get all that experience. Well, if I can give it to you at a fraction of the time, the cost, and the injuries, then how much better does that make Caleb's career, right? And then imagine there's 20 million other Caleb's around the world that are looking for the same thing. So once I settled in on that, it was just like, man, this is a no-brainer. This is what you need to do. It fits. It checks the box of tech passion. Checks the box of strategic elements, working with the gameplay and teaching people how to think about the game of football. Because physically, yes, that's important. But up here is where you win games. Up here is where you thrive in life. I'll tell you what, this is the biggest part of the game that will transfer to your life outside of the game, right? When you think about physical ability, never again when you leave after you're done playing sport will you be able to change someone's mind by being physical legally. You could do it and it's illegal, right? You can't just go around touching people. You can't just, hey, if I want you to go there, I'm gonna move you there. You can't do that in the real world. That's something that is very specific to football and sport. When you get out and you become an adult and not even an adult, but a young professional even, and you're working outside of sport, you have to learn how to use your mind for impact, right? So you have to figure out how to help people see your perspective, how to explain your own perspective, how to, I won't say persuade people, but explain and educate and communicate mentally, right? Sports teaches you a lot about physical communication. I cross somebody over, I get by him, okay, yeah, but you can't just cross somebody over when you're in a corporate setting, right? You have to use your head. So I really wanted to focus on building a product and building a tool that was going to help prepare people for their life after sport as well by focusing on the mental side of the game. And again, once all of that came into the fold, it was like, man, like this is perfect. This is perfect. Oh,
okay. So one of the questions is virtual reality coding harder than other types of coding, or is it the same?
It's a great question. I wouldn't say it's harder. So when you're talking about coding, it's all language based, right? So you have like C#, you have HTML, you have JavaScript, you have .NET, you have Python, you have JSON, which is not named after me, but if it was, that'd be pretty cool. But you have all these languages that you can use for any type of coding and computation. Depending on where you're building your platform at will determine what type of language you need to learn. So for us, we use C# because our development platform calls for C# development. As long as you learn those languages, you'll be able to put them out. And then nowadays, even because of the way things are set up, you can you can code in one language and it will port it over to different platforms that may not support that language. So not really any harder. Just the toughest thing about VR development, seems like that's the question, is you have to create for an immersive world, right? So you have to think about things like not just for a computer screen, but what if you were creating a full 360 immersive world that you're wanting to engage with? Looks like the next question is, you want to read it, Caleb?
Oh, I'll read it. What is your favorite part of your job?
Man, favorite part of my job is honestly this. And when I say this, I mean not doing interviews, but showing the product and presenting the product to young athletes around the world. It's really hard to even put words to how much I enjoy it, because you guys are the future. Quite honest. Like, you guys are the future. There will be a time one day in the future where I'll be old and gray, and I'll be depending on your generation to go out and to make the impact in society, and be able to give young athletes a tool that improves their journey. That's the best part for me, man. And also because there were so many people that were instrumental in my own success, right? So I mentioned my dad was a coach. He was a very good coach, and that came with a lot of mentors. That came with a lot of former players. That came with a lot of people that were able to help me on my journey. So for me to be able to pay it forward, it feels good. It feels good. It feels good because I know that if for my people, the people that I've helped, I know, or sorry, that have helped me, I know if they knew about it, which they probably will, probably do, probably don't, it would make them feel good that their efforts and energies just didn't stop with me, but it went down to another generation of people as well. So that would probably be the best part.
Another person says, how much is the sport tech industry worth?
Yeah, so as of the last industry report to come out based on 2019, globally, the sports technology market is worth roughly about between 66 and 79 billion, depending on who you ask. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Billion with a B, not like that's billion with a B, like beyond the ball. Like that's a billion. Yeah, that's a lot of value. And look, that's a lot of that is our tools and things like we build. A lot of that value is driven by facilitation apps. If you think about like Team Snap, you think about Huddle, you think about league apps. A lot of the apps and technologies that people use to facilitate amateur and youth play is where a lot of that value comes from.
Mm-hmm. What did you study in college to transition into a technical field?
So Dimitri, another great question. I had a different experience with it. So I studied communication. I got my degree in communications at Boise State. I did not take the traditional route in the technology that most people do with studying computer science. I will say, I knew I wanted to be in business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know that it was going to be technology exactly, right? So I didn't go down the CS. But if you are interested in coding, if you are interested, I would say I should strongly suggest that you look into computer science programs, schools that have great computer science programs, and start now too. You don't have to wait until you get to college to start studying these things. A lot of this information is available free on the web. Stanford has some free sources for coding. MIT does. Harvard does. In fact, most of the top tier universities and institutions have created like free versions of their courses for people to study and learn. So if it's something you're interested in, I would strongly suggest you guys getting started on it now, because you'll just be that much better off when the time does come. And you might create $1 billion company right from your living room right now. So don't underscore that at all.
So he said, this is Colby Pierce. What would you recommend to major in if you want to go in this field?
So I mentioned the computer science field. So that's kind of really general, right? That's going to be all things coding, all things. But if you're looking specifically into like sports, technology, analytics, I would look at like gaming departments, like schools that have a gaming and engineering departments. I know Boise, where I went, they now have a department called the GIM department. It's gaming and interactive media. So programs like that. Also looking at just data analytics, like, because the other part about what we do is it's an analytical play too. It's not just a technology. It is a lot of number crunching, creating profiles, statistical profiles. So any program or school and university that has a data analytics system could be valuable as well. But you won't lose if you go after computer science.
How many professional players have tried your product?
London, I've honestly lost count. I'll say roughly 20. And that's individual. That's not including players that may be on a team that was using it. But yeah, quite a few. We do most of our business with high school and colleges and youth programs. And when we work with pro guys, it's generally on a one-to-one basis, things like that.
To follow up on the question, who are some of the professional players who tried to VR?
Yeah, so Malcolm Smith, like I mentioned, Nate Bahar, Keith Rivers.
It was them too?
Keith Rivers, Bruce Davis, Orlando Scandrick, former Dallas Cowboy, George Iloka, former Dallas Cowboy, Jamar Taylor, former he plays for Atlanta Falcons now, Fred Warner, currently on the San Francisco 49ers, Manuel Mosley, currently on the San Francisco 49ers, Charles Leno plays for the Chicago Bears. Yeah, that guy off the top is tough, but hopefully that answers pretty good.
Answered really good. What advice would you give to young football players?
Okay, so that's a broad one, but I mean, look, be real with yourselves. Okay, be real with yourselves, and when I say be real with yourselves, be real about understanding the opportunities to go to the league, what those numbers really are, what those chances really are. Be real with yourself before deciding whether or not you're ready to play tackle football. If you're, I was a kid that I just, I wanted it so bad. I wanted it so bad because my dad was coaching. I grew up in it. I wanted to play tackle. I played tackle at 6 years old. Now, I mentioned I had knee surgery. I also had a number of other injuries. And a lot of that is attributed to the fact that I think I may have just gotten started playing before I was ready, where I was just very passionate. I wanted to, but I physically was not ready to go out there and meet the demands of the game. So be real with yourself. So that's that part. Now, once you've made it on and you've committed to it and you're doing it, look, there's a lot of people out there, okay? And everybody loves this game because it's a great game. You're going to have to work your tail off if you think that you're going to have to work. Look, you're going to have to work your tail off to be a starter. You're going to have to work your tail off to be a good player once you become a starter. You're going to have to work your tail off to get a scholarship. You're going to have to work your tail off to keep your scholarship. And then you're going to have to work your tail off even harder if you think you're going to get to the league. And then you're going to have to work your tail off to stay in the league. So the name of this game is working your tail off. And if you're not willing to do that, be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. And that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the game. But the more real with yourself you are, the more you will enjoy the game because your expectations will be in order and you won't be, you won't feel like you're getting something out of it that or there's something that you're not getting out of it, rather, that you're putting in. Hopefully that answers the question.
Do you come to school in Dallas?
Do I come to
schools in Dallas?
So we work with, we can, if you're interested in me coming to school. So generally speaking, actually, we do a lot of our business in Texas. Brewer High School is a school we work with. Langham Creek also out in Houston, and Holmes out in San Antonio. So we'll spend, had it not been for COVID, we would have been doing this actually in Texas, and I would have been there. I try to come down quite a bit. There's a great football presence there. There's a great energy around it. I think the kids and the coaches really enjoy what we do, and I love it. It's hot. It's hot as heck out there in the summer. I don't know what I'm in Los Angeles. I love the breeze. But yes, I do come, and when things start to open back up to regular scheduled programming, I'll be there more often.
What's the good, bad, and ugly about pro sports? The business side being traded politics.
So, all right, the good part about, let's just go straight to the good. You get a lot of money, right? That's just obvious, right?
Yeah.
That's you get paid a king's ransom to play a game like a 6-year-old. So that's awesome. The bad part is, you have to use your body to do that. It's not like, and you feel it. I'm 31 years old now. I haven't played a game in 10 years, a sanctioned game with pads on at least. And I feel a lot of that every day I wake up, like there's a warm-up process I have to go through every day in order to get myself, going physically. So that's the bad part. The ugly part of it is, and I think we're seeing a lot of it now with so much racial tension going on in the world. The tough thing about professional sports is the system is very much so fundamentally designed after the military, and then two, slavery, and how things worked in back in what they call the good old days. So a lot of the undertones in pro sports when it comes to whether or not athletes can speak up, whether or not athletes have rights, whether or not athletes have the right to peaceful protest, a lot of that is skewed in pro sports because the system is really designed in a world that we no longer live in. So, and that's changing. Mm-hmm. I would say, I think because of work like people like myself and some of my other counterparts, that will change. It will change quicker and more so, and exponentially rather, in the next coming years. And hopefully by time, you guys that are on this webinar and masterclass, once you guys start to get to your own opportunities in sport, because of the work that many people like I'm doing, Beyond the Ball is doing, and so many other people around the world are doing, because of that work, it will be a better system in place. But those are just the realities of it. And it's better. Look, with all this stuff in life, there's always good, bad, and ugly. I love that question because there's always going to be the good, bad, and the ugly. That's just life. Mm-hmm. The trick is to being aware of it all. So now you can navigate it better, right? Some things are just what they are, but if you go into it knowing, you're a lot better, making it out in one piece, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Thank you. Is there any more questions? Do basketball players use this tech, or is it only for football?
It's a great question, Jalen. Next year we will be having this for basketball. Right now, the product is specifically set up and designed to work with football. As a sport I played, sport my dad coached. A lot of our early, users came from that. But as we've started to grow and develop and do more events like this, we are seeing an increased demand for a basketball product as well as other sports. Soccer comes to mind, volleyball, lacrosse. Actually, you guys let me know too. I'll leave my email if we can get my email if you guys need it. Any feedback you guys have, anything you guys want to see, you think where this could be useful, we're open to all suggestions because, look, we're going to be here for a long time. Our goal is for one day when you guys have kids, you guys are old enough to have kids, they'll be learning the game on this type of platform better. So any advice you guys have, whether we use it in the next 5 years or 10 years, it will be useful.
Really useful. Thank you. Any more questions?
These are good questions, by the way.
Okay. I have a question myself.
Okay, go ahead, Kate.
How did the experiences of winning and losing prepare you for success in the tech industry?
How did one more time?
How did the experiences of winning and losing prepare you for success in the tech industry?
Yes, that's a great question. So when you're starting any new venture, whether it be a tech company or real estate company, whether you're going back to school, anything that is new and is challenging, you're going to run into adversities, right? That's just it. Sports really prepares you for that because, like I said earlier, every time you line up, you have an opponent. Now, an opponent is essentially a form of adversity or a roadblock, right? Something that's in between you and your goal. So what sports really does is it kind of conditions your mind to always have to break through something to get to what you want, right? So, and that's the same way in business. It's because I'll tell you, like this week, right? There's packages that go missing. There's damaged goods. There's, people that, clients that say they want it, but then they don't want it. There's investors that don't. There's so many things that you have to go through in order to be successful in business. And really, if it had not been for sports, I don't know if I'd be able to do it, because that's the only thing that keeps me like going. Is like I have this connection to a past where I was faced with opponents and adversity every single play, and I knew that in order to win, I just had to overcome it. So it's a great, like, sports is just that's why I'm so passionate about what we do. Look, like I said, everything has the good, bad, and the ugly. One bad and borderline ugly thing about sports is it can be painful. It can be, but it's so much good that comes from it as well. And the way it prepares you, the way it teaches you to communicate with other people, the importance of teamwork, the importance of discipline, the importance of problem solving, and learning how to take a loss, and also learning how to take a win. Like, that's a big part too. A lot of times in life, I might close a deal and, I'm running around the house and I'm shouting, and I still live at home with my family and my parents are like, what's going on? And they're like, man, you running around like you crazy. And I'm like, yeah, because we just won. And I celebrate every single win in business the same way I celebrate every single win, or celebrated every single win in sport, because you have to count all your blessings. You have to celebrate the highs. Look, celebrate the highs, because the lows are going to be there. So you might as well celebrate the highs. So I can't speak enough to the importance of football or sports in general, and just teaching people how to learn how to be successful and unsuccessful. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about using our company and using our product to make it a safer place for athletes, because I feel like every citizen of the world, especially right now, could use some sports. And when I say use some sports, I don't mean some entertainment. I mean teamwork, discipline, collaboration, strategy, all of that you get with sport is something that I think really, it adds up in a very well-rounded citizen when it's all said and done.
Really understood that. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything that I didn't go over that you need to cover?
Not off the top, man. I think we covered it all between your questions and the field, man. I want to say thank you to Beyond the Ball and Erica and you and Omni and everybody that's helped put this deal together. The production staff, you guys, this is an amazing setup as well. And to everybody watching, and for anybody that may see this, Father's Day just passed, and like I mentioned, my dad played college football as well, and he played at Grambling State University. And if you guys don't know about Grambling State University's football program, at one time it was one of the most respected programs in the world, really, and led by a great leader by the name of Eddie Robinson, who is one of the all-time winningest coaches in college football history. My dad played for him, and I've had when I was younger, he's now passed on, but when he was alive and I was younger, I had the privilege to study him, be around him, engage with him, and learn from him. And every year my dad would go down there and he'd tell my son something, give him a nugget, give him a gem. And well, we call it gems now, but they call it nuggets. And he would just say very simple, never give up, period. So that's my message to all you guys in closing. Hopefully you guys are wearing clothes too. In clothing and in closing, that just never give up. Never give up. Keep pressing. There's always going to be something in front of you. It never changes, but just keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. Because I tell you what, you can't stop somebody who won't stop. Period.
Is that it? Is there anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Any more questions either before we close out? Was it hard to start your company?
So there's two parts that I think about when you're starting a company. There's the actual the act of starting an entity, which is relatively easy as long as you have the money. You just kind of pay a lawyer, go on LegalZoom and get an LLC. Now that's just a company. But when it comes to everything that you see with Playbook 5, the product, the service, what the company does, what the company offers, yes, it was hard. I'll raise you one and say it is hard, and it will continually to be hard. What I think what you'll find out though, and I'm not sure the reason behind the question. Anything worth having is difficult or hard. Anything easy, you don't really want. In fact, I'll give you one better. If it's easy, I'd run from it. Like really, and I'm telling you guys that anything that comes too easy, just be a little bit be speculative a little bit, because most things that are worth having in life are hard, including having your own business. And then there's, like I said about being in the league and getting to the league, there's getting in the league and then there's staying in the league, right? Mm-hmm. So anybody can go pay a lawyer, $2,500 and get a LLC set up, but can you? You got to pay taxes every year, $800 minimum. So can you create $800 of work? Well, not even $800. You're going to need at least 2.5 times that to think yourself profitable. So you think $3,000. Can you make $3,000 every year? That's where. So it's easy it's easy in one sense to just set it up, or easier, and then it's more difficult to keep it and sustain it over time. But yes, very hard. And like I said, most things in life that are worth having are going to be hard.
Mm-hmm. Make sure there's not any more questions. How many of your former teammates transitioned from football successfully, and how many have struggled?
Thankfully, actually, I haven't had too many struggling situations. A lot of the guys I played with, very like-minded. We grew up in the same cohort, and that's one thing I'll get you guys to think. Like, you're going to be the people you spend the most time with, or the people you're going to mirror the most, right? So the guys that I was close with, a lot of them are like-minded like me, or else I wouldn't think like this, probably, because I would have been weighed down by something else. So thankfully not too bad, but throughout the entire ecosystem in sport, I do know quite a bit of guys, I'm not sure percentage-wise, that have ended up, in bad shape. Most of the times when they've gotten there, just off bad decision makings and not having the right circles, and then also having idle time. Never have idle time. Idle time, my mom used to always tell me, the idle time is a devil's workshop. And when you don't have something to do and something to apply yourself towards, that's when the devil or the enemy kind of comes in and tries to disrupt you and get you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. So the best way to defeat that is to stay busy. Don't let yourself. So a lot of those guys I mentioned, they just stopped. Once football was done, they just kind of sat around and waited for something to come land on their shoulder. No, find something to do. Right now, even I'm in school right now. I'm taking business classes through Harvard Business School. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because I had more time because of COVID. So I don't want to be sitting around waiting on things to happen. You want to always stay on the offensive and find things to apply yourself to. And I tell you, if you think you can't find something, keep looking, because there is more than enough problems in this world that need solving, from food insecurity to the water crisis to the criminal justice reform. There's a lot of things out there to apply yourself towards if you're looking for something to do. So my best advice to avoid kind of those negative outcomes is to stay busy and stay attached to something.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the response. Really good response. Any more questions? So I think that is it. Then I'll give it a minute. See if there's any more questions.
Well, they got an email going across the screen right now. Feel free to reach out to me. Right now it has the numeral 5. I think she's gonna fix that up real quick. But give me a feel free to shoot me an email. Any follow-up questions? Athletes, parents, anyone. Also check out the website if you can. Playbook 5. There we go. Check out the website as well, playbook5.com. We're on Instagram at Playbook5, Twitter at Playbook5. And yeah, hopefully we'll be in all you guys' schools in the coming years, and you guys will be able to touch the product. I think Erica has something special for all of you guys that are collecting some points and engaging with Beyond the Ball. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to engaging with you guys further.
Okay. So I think we're going to close out here. Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for taking time out of your day to talk, to speak with us, and I really appreciate it.
Caleb, I can't wait till you get your own podcast one day, man. I can see it. You got that lean in, you got the headphones. I could already see it.
Thank you. Oh yeah, and whoever's watching, make sure you go down to the website and do all the activities, and stay tuned for 10 a.m. tomorrow for the next skills trainer. And that's it for today. We'll see you guys later.